we will now detail the steps of installing and configuring Git on Windows, Linux, and if it is possible, Mac OS system. Of course, we're going to do only for Linux and Windows, but I would show how to do it for Mac OS in Git documentation. So first, we'll begin with manual installation on Windows. So in this, the first step is to download the Git for Windows tool executable. So this Windows executable file we have to download from git for windows.org. So in spite of that, I'll directly go to this documentation, Git documentation, and we will download that. Git documentation, this is official documentation, Git SCM. Here you can see about documentation and then click on downloads. So Mac OS, Linux or Unix, and then Windows. Click on Windows. Here we have a standalone installer, 64-bit Git for Windows setup, and this is thumb driven. I'll click on 64-bit. Mine is Windows 11, so I'll go for the 64-bit one. So it's 50.5 MB, so it will take some amount of time. So meanwhile, let's go through the documentation by the time it gets downloaded. So here we'll have information about complete about Git. So branching, the main components of Git, those are branching and distributed. So you see master. So this is complete information about Git. You can go through it one by one. Distributed data assurance about Git only. So trademark of Git. So all that information. Then staging area. This is very important concept in Git. Oh, nice one. So if staging area in Git is clear, that means it's very easy to deal with Git. Staging area, you see, you have working directory, then staging area, then a repository. It could be a local repository. So once this setup is done, then you can connect with the remote repo. Of course, we are going to discuss in detail, but I just want to show this staging area concept is very, very uh, important. If that is clear, rest all will fall in place. See, when you do git add, the documents, the changes will be added to staging area, and after that, when you say git commit, those changes will be added to the local repository of git, not the working directory. From this you can add, once committed, then you can add this by pushing. You can add this to a remote, from local to remote. So the staging area concept and then local repo concept are very, very important. So nicely given here. Fantastic. Very good documentation, not as a packer and this kind of documentation, it's better. So now let me get to the downloads, and here is the Git. Click Ctrl X, and or I'll directly install from here only, or else I'll place this in my directory. So hands on. So here I'll place it, paste it. So done. So now first step is done. Let's go to the second step. So the next step is to, once downloaded, we click on the executable file and follow the different steps that we are going to follow for the installation. Okay, so let's see the steps one by one, and then we'll go for the installation. So the next step is to choose the integration of Git in Windows Explorer by marking the Windows Explorer integration checkbox. Let me open this executable file. Do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes, of course, I want to install this in my. So now it's asking installation, please read the following important information. I don't need to read. If you want, you just go through it. I'll say next. So this is that one. So where do you want to set up your uh, where do you want to place your setup? So that C and then program files and git. So this folder already exists because I have my previous one which I have uninstalled but I did not remove. So would you like to install to that folder anyway? Yes, you just replace it. So here, so now once the setup comes, now let's get back. So choose the integration of Git in a Windows Explorer. That's what the Windows Explorer just now it had opened by making the Windows Explorer integration checkbox. Then, so let's see. Windows Explorer integration checkbox has been checked. So if by default it will be checked, if it is not, you just check it. So I have checked it. Now choose the path environment variable option also, or we can leave the default choice proposed by the installer. So path environment variable. So by default we can go with it. Then okay, first we'll click next and then we'll check the other steps. So rest all fine. Additional icons and everything. Let's keep this default. Now this also don't we'll keep it like this. We don't need to do any changes. So choose the default editor used by Git. Which editor would you like Git to use? So use Vim if it is that, or else what all options are there? Notepad Plus, Visual Studio Code, Atom, a lot of options I have because I have installed all those editors. But let's go with the Vim only. By default, when I say in Git Bash, by default I can use Vim, so it will install Vim. Or else if you ask, it will install, if you say Notepad, it will install Notepad. Visual Studio Code, it will install Visual Studio Code. But I will go with the Vim because that's a Linux specific. I am very much adaptable to that. So I'll click next. Then let git decide. Okay, override the default branch name for new repositories. Okay, main. So let git decide. You don't need to do. So next, and then use git from git bash only, git from command line, and also from third party. Yeah, you can use git from command line as well as the third party. All are fine. So that's why we'll go with that option only. Okay, then I'll click on next again. So now this is what use bundled OpenSSH or use external OpenSSH. I'll go with the bundled OpenSSH. OpenSSH by default. I'll click next, and this is what choose the type of HTTPS transport that we will also leave by default here in this case with the use of OpenSSL library. So this OpenSSL library consists of a server certificates will be validated using the CA bundle.crt file. Okay, so then let's click on next. Now here we will choose the encoding of the end files. We will also select the default option, so which archives in Unix format. Here you see checkout Windows style, commit Unix style. Okay, checkout will be Windows style but commit will be Unix style line ending. So let me click next. Now this is what I was, so min tt, the terminal that we are going to use is min. So the terminal that we are going to use is min, so we'll keep this by default. We don't need to Windows default console. This is better. Min TTY. Then default fast forwarder merge. We'll keep it same. Nothing to change. Git credential manager. Again, we'll keep it same. Default. Configure extra options. Enable file system caching. Fine. And then configuring experimental options. These features are developed actively. Would you like to try them? No, not at all. Okay. I'm not doing experiments here. So then finish the installation configuration by clicking on the install button at the end of the installation. So the installation utility proposes to open git bash. So let's see, the installation is going on. It is extracting all the files from the .exe the git.exe, it is extracting it, it's unpacking it, and it's setting up the things in our system. So then once it is ready, we can use git. So now it is asking the install. Okay, setup has finished installing git on your computer. The application may be launched by selecting the install shortcuts. So click finish to exit setup. So it's asking whether you want to launch git bash or not. So git bash is a command line terminal Linux emulator dedicated to git commands only. This is specifically dedicated to git commands, but we can use it as a general purpose tool. I think if you follow my tutorials and modules till now, so basically we have used git bash a lot. Okay, so I'll say launch git bash also and click finish. Here it is. This is your git bash. All set, all ready. ls, clear the screen. I'll say git version, git, sorry, here it is, git version 2.39.1 windows.1. This is specifically for windows, so that's the reason. So with this, we have successfully installed git on windows machine manually. This is manual procedure. Okay, so now what is the another way? And the second thing is installation on windows using automatic script, that is using Chocolatey. To install git for windows with Chocolatey, we must execute the command choco install git. Okay, so for that, what will we do? Again, we will go to our Windows PowerShell, run as administrator, then say S and say, okay, let's leave it. Let's say choco install git. So Chocolatey version 1.1.0 installing the following packages of git. Let's see. By installing, you accept licenses for the packages. Let's see what's going to show. We have installed manually. So now we have installed manually. So now we are installing git through automatic script. So 5%, 6%, it's gonna take more time. Let it go on. So we will move on to our slide. We will move on to our next step in our slide. So, and the third one is installation on Linux machine. So installation on a Linux machine is pretty easy. So you have to use apt get install git. That's it. I just want to demonstrate this on also. Before we set up our EC2 instance, let's look into Choco installation. How far? It's 25%. Okay. So let's set up our EC2 instance, and then we will install git init. Yeah, it's taking some time, but still okay. That's fine. Yeah, we will set up. Mumbai is fine. In Mumbai, we are going to launch our EC2 instance. Name git server is the name of the EC2 instance. I'll go with the Ubuntu. Ubuntu 20 is fine. Ubuntu 20 is absolutely fine. Then I will click on t2.micro. I'll go with the micro, that's fine. Okay, that's okay. Micro is okay. Then key pair, I'll say git kp. Then we have our security group, git sg, and my IP, 22 port my IP, and then click launch instance. What's the status? It's taking a lot of time, still 25%. Downloading git.install 2.3.9. And what is our version? I think it's same. Let's see. Okay, so let's click on git bash that we have installed manually. It's a git version. It's also 2.39.1. Let's see what's going to happen. We are installing the same. It should tell at some place that you already have this thing. Yeah, get back to the instance. So this is our instance. Click on connect. I think machine has been started or it hasn't started. Copy this instances. Machine is running. Let me get into the machine first. Clear the screen. Paste it. Okay. That's okay. We are in a wrong place. Let me bring the key pair first. Downloads. Git kp and place it in our hands-on directory. Then here you open git bash and maximize it. Then say paste it. Okay, but before that I have to get into my EC2 instance and click on connect and then copy the SSH command and paste it here. So we have logged into the system. So clear the screen first and then say sudo I, because I am a Ubuntu user, I will become a sudo user. So then what's the command that I have to use? It's apt get install git. So before that what I will do is I'll minimize this. Yeah, so I say apt get update. So we are updating the apt-get package manager tool. So once it gets updated, then we will install the git. So reading the packages, clear the screen and I say apt get install git. Yes, it's getting installed. Setting up git 1.2. Okay, let's clear the screen and see git option version. Yes, here it is, git version 2.25.1. This is for Linux. So with this you can execute all the commands that you want to execute. So let's keep this machine on and we'll see further. And before that let's check what's the stage. So it's stuck at this point because we have that window, we have that git version in it, so that 2.39.1 version we have, so that's the reason it's stuck here. That's fine. Let's leave this here. We'll say yeah. So Chocolatey install Jira packages failed. The log for details failure. Git exited. That's fine. We have that. So before you install using Chocolatey, you have to uninstall the tool that you have installed earlier in manual process. That's fine. Anyway, we have installed our Git in a both ways, manual installation and then automatic installation using Chocolatey, and then we have installed the Git on Linux machine also. So we have installed in a 3 ways. So then installation on CentOS or Fedora, it's similar to Linux, but only you have to say YUM. You have to use another package management tool there. And for installation on macOS, similar as we did with Windows, we use Choco. There we have to use Brew. So Brew package management tool we have to use. That Brew repository will consist of Git, and when we say Brew install Git, automatically it fetches the Git Git application, and then it will install the Git application in macOS.